The Buccaneers are coming off a big emotional win over the Seahawks in Germany. We tell you what changes need to be made moving forward to keep that momentum going. Let's go.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And we thank you for making us your first listen or view of the day. I am James Yarcho, deputy editor of SB Nation's BucsNation.com, joined by my phenomenal co-host with the best beard in the game, Mr. David Harrison. You can check out his work over at Sports Illustrated's BucsGameDay.com. And of course, follow everything on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, and at DHarrison82.
You know, it's actually funny that you mentioned my beard because sometimes, like today, I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's kind of like more compact and like it's up here a little bit. But sometimes I kind of comb it out. I'm just playing with it. I haven't had it long enough to know exactly how I want it to be every single day. Plus, I'm kind of learning it because I wasn't allowed to have a beard for 20 years. So I'll try to make this quick because it's a Commander's story, not a Buck story. But I'm walking into the locker room Saturday because the Commanders practice Saturday since they have Monday Night Football. And as I'm walking into the locker room, the players are getting off because, last day of practice, they don't have to stick around. So a lot of them kind of jet early. Montez Sweat is walking in the locker room as I'm walking in. He smiles, points at me, and goes, "Bro, you really got that thing combed out today." And I was like, "Yeah, I got to get it trimmed." And I walk in, and it hit me. I don't know if that was a compliment or not. So anyway,
I would take it as one.
Yeah, he smiled.
If you are unsure, the default is it's a compliment.
It's a compliment. All right. So anyway, I don't know. So we've lost like half of our listeners right now. We thank you again for making Locked On Bucs first listener, your first view every single day. Today's episode brought to you by Prize Picks. You pick 2 to 5 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can get up to 10%. That's not right. Up to 10 times your money on a single entry. First-time users use promo code Locked On, and you'll get 100% deposit match. It's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. Rachaad White should be running back number 1 moving forward for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was already something that we have been asserting on this show for the last, honestly, like 2 weeks, I think, really. And we've kind of been talking about the buildup probably a little bit longer than that. And Germany really just kind of showed it even more. And, look, Leonard Fournette, a little bit kind of a victim of his own circumstances, right? Because not only is the reason everybody's kind of been saying Rachaad White needs more touches and more carries because Leonard's play and production has gone down. He's not seeing lanes. I mean, even in the game in Germany, James, there was a play where he hits the A gap. The left side of the offensive line was wide open, and there's no reason he shouldn't have seen it, couldn't have seen it, couldn't have hit it, and you're gaining about 8-9 yards instead of gaining the 1 or 2 that he did gain. I almost tweeted it, but things were going well. Bucs were winning. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what? Let me not feed negativity in the universe. So I deleted the tweet, but it is an example of the problem that we're seeing with Leonard Fournette. It's not just the dancing at the line of scrimmage. It's not just the bad eyes. It's a combination of all of it. And while he did have some good runs, before the hip injury, in Germany, and you want to see that, of course, we're all supporting Leonard here as long as he's part of the team and all that stuff. I mean, honestly, I go back to what I said last week. Rachaad White is just a classic Tom Brady running back, and I think he showed it in week 10.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if I was full-blown Rachaad should be RB1 leading up to this point. I know for sure I was definitely he should be getting closer to a 50-50 split. He should be the primary first down back. But I still felt, Leonard Fournette obviously still brings something to this team. I think Leonard Fournette ran better in this game than he has over the course of the last couple of games. And of course, the numbers show that his yards per carry average was much better in this game than it has been over the course of about the last month. But Rachaad White was setting the tone, and it was a lot of what you and I have been discussing. It was Rachaad White is more explosive, more decisive, and bursts through the hole a little bit quicker and is gaining, 3, 4, 5 yards a run. And then you bring in Leonard Fournette, and he looks like he's running a little bit angrier. He's running with a little bit more purpose, and the defense is starting to wear down, and it's freeing him up to do some of these things. I do think that they are a phenomenal complement to one another. But as you said, Rachaad White kind of proved it in Germany that he should be the RB1 moving forward. Maybe he will be. Leonard Fournette dealing with this hip injury now. They did show him kind of wrapped up on the sideline. Legitimately could be a hip injury, could be a little bit of an ego bruise. But I think the more the Buccaneers are able to utilize somebody like White in the fashion that they used him against the Seattle Seahawks is going to free Lenny up to do some more things, not throw the ball, down the road late in games. And we're going to see, those big explosive Leonard Fournette runs against tired defenses. I don't know what else Rachaad has to do to get, more games like this where he's out touching Leonard Fournette by a pretty wide margin.
Yeah, I mean, look, the other part of this self-made situation going on here, a lot of people were talking about the fact that Leonard Fournette started the game on the sideline. And a report that came out before the game is that Leonard Fournette didn't have a passport until 4 hours before they left for Germany. I can't speak for Todd Bowles, and perhaps, it's in the post-game notes for later digestion or whatever. But, Rachaad White, look, I can just, from a strategic standpoint, if I got a guy that may not even be able to travel with me to Germany, I'm not giving him the first team reps. You know what I mean? So Rachaad White, I would imagine, got a lot of first team work and practice this week leading up to the game, which makes him obviously the better candidate to be the first team running back when you hit the field. And I would be highly surprised to find out that the Buccaneers didn't go that direction. So, or at least give him more. If he didn't get all of them, at least give him a bigger split than he normally would have had, just in case Lenny can't end up flying. So it's interesting. And then the second part of that is, hey, U.S. Government Passport Office, next time you tell me it's going to be a 6-week wait for a passport, I'm going to ask about Leonard Fournette, because
Also, how long ago was this game in Germany announced? Wasn't it like back in April?
Yeah,
why was this not taken care of like months ago, dude?
That's a whole other situation. I mean, you're a grown man, you're going to Germany. I mean, come on, bro. You know what I mean? But that's no reason to bench a guy. So I just want to make that perfectly clear. And like you said, I don't think it's going to be like the days of having just one running back are gone. Like I don't think anybody's sitting here saying Rachaad White should just get every carry, every snap, all that stuff. No, you definitely want to mix. But look, if Leonard Fournette's hip injury turns out to be significant and he misses their next game against Cleveland in a couple of weeks, Keyshawn Vaughn, we saw him during preseason training camp, James. Keyshawn Vaughn's got some ability. And I mean, once he gets onto a field that is not slip and slide, that everybody's playing football on, he may be able to show some things against Cleveland, and that may complicate things a little bit further for Leonard Fournette when he comes back.
Keyshawn Vaughn had one of the plays of the game. Tom Brady somehow avoided being sacked twice, dumps it off to Vaughn, and he's able to work some magic to convert a 3rd and 10 into a first down. Vaughn's got some juice. So it'll be nice to see him get a little bit more opportunity as well.
Absolutely. It'll also be nice to see what goodies I get this holiday season, because I am to the age and girth where food and beverages are my usual drinks that people give me. I'm just speaking the truth here. This holiday, find what you love at Total Wine and More, because this episode of Locked On Bucs is brought to you by Total Wine and More. With so many great bottles to choose from, it's easy to find a new favorite single barrel bourbon, which I definitely have my favorites, or the perfect gifts for everyone on your list with some help from a friendly guide. And with all the confidence you can get knowing you found something special for the lowest price, you're absolutely going to love your experience with Total Wine and More. Find what you love what you find only at Total Wine and More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly. And of course, you have to be 21 to participate. Thanks again for making the Locked On Bucs podcast your first listen or view of the day. For your second listen or your next listen, please check out Locked On Sports Today. From the biggest games that matter to the most biggest stories in sports. Go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insight only Locked On can provide, unless they're at Disney World. Available on this app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Stock up, stock down time. One of my favorite news segments. Let's take a look at which Bucs are trending in the right direction and which are heading in the wrong one. Some of them not even because of anything they did or didn't do. But before we do that, let's hear from a guy whose stock is definitely trending up as the temperatures he lives in are probably trending down. Let's go to Tyler in Boston.
What's up, boys? Tyler from Boston. Man, what a great game. I mean, God, they looked like a whole different team today. Man, that energy was different. That effort was different. Maybe, I hope, turning the corner. Rachaad White is the truth. RB1 going forward, maybe. That first half was really impressive. And although the second half was more nervous time than anything, there was just no quit despite the mistakes and the momentum shifts. And, I was really impressed to see that. It was an impressive game. And boy, the Bucs really showed something. Hope they enjoy the time off. They take the time to get healthy and get ready for this playoff push, man. This is getting fun. Let's go fire those cannons. Go Bucs.
All right, Tyler, appreciate you calling in. As always, obviously, Tyler's going to agree with us in segment in segment one. But let's get to our stock up, stock down. And let's start with risers. James, I'm going to let you start because I've been talking for a very long time, and Tyler probably wants to hear your voice again.
So my stock up is going to be somebody that David is going to make fun of me for having because of how wrong I was about him leading up to the season. But my stock up is Scotty Miller. Over the last month, he has 13 receptions on 14 targets for 97 yards. Of course, he was a pivotal player in that final drive against the Los Angeles Rams last week that led to a win. That one incomplete pass, of his targets was the one in the end zone. Other than that, he has caught everything that Tom Brady has thrown his way. His stock will go up even higher if he stops needlessly jumping all the time. Come on, Scotty, you had a walk-in touchdown today, and you botched it.
Yeah, I tweeted it. Shades of Terry Glenn back in his Ohio State days. Terry Glenn eventually figured out how to catch for the most part with his hands in the National Football League. And that's basically what that is. The Scotty Miller doesn't want to catch with his hands. He wants to catch with his chest. And that's why that pass went incomplete last week is because it hit his face mask. But that's what happens when you're a body catcher. I would be much happier with Scotty Miller if he wasn't just catching everything with his chest, but definitely a good stat line and good to see him picking it up. So I will go with the stock up, but man, let's, you know what? I want to say let's get him on the jugs machine, but I remember his first year, right? He was injured in training camp and we were down there and I was watching him and he was on the jugs machine every day after practice. And I'm watching this dude catch the ball with his hands, tuck it in, put it away. I'm like, all right, I don't know what happened with that whole thing. I don't know. Maybe, Scotty got married recently. Like some of us, we gained a lot of weight. Maybe Scotty forgot how to catch with his hands when he got married. I don't know. My stock up is going to be the offensive line. And look, I'm not an offensive line guru, right? I'm not like a guy who can tell you, the perfect sets and all that stuff, but I can tell you what good offensive line play usually looks like. And it looks like what the Buccaneers have had in recent memory. And if that continues on after the bye, then this team is going to be in a very good position. And if they can get Ryan Jensen back at some point, either late in the regular season or in the postseason, a la Vita Vea during the Super Bowl run, then, kudos to you even better. The only problem is then, what do you replace Nick Leverett with Robert Hainsey, or do you send Robert Hainsey back to the bench? That's going to be kind of a hard situation. But hey, man, that's the business that we work in. Everybody knows that if Ryan Jensen is healthy, Ryan Jensen is playing. But on Sunday against Seattle Seahawks, the Buccaneers 10 for 15 on third downs. 10 for 15 on third downs. That's insanity. That offensive line was a big part of that production.
Yeah, I certainly have loved what I've seen out of Nick Leverett. Not so much the holding penalty that he had on Sunday, but
or the play that he completely got blown by and ended up. Anyway,
but
nobody's perfect.
Right.
Nobody's perfect.
The overall play of the offensive line definitely has been trending up, and I think a big part of that is the cohesiveness and the trust that they have now with Nick Leverett in there. I hope Luke Gedeke continues to develop. I think he was thrust into a position he wasn't ready for, and now the offensive line is starting to click. I like that. My stock down, it's Russell Gage. This is a guy that has missed the last couple of games due to injury, which isn't his fault. But while he's missing those games, all of a sudden you're seeing the targets and the reliance of Scotty Miller go up. You're seeing Cade Otton's targets and reliance go up. You're seeing Julio Jones really start to get involved in the passing game. So his stock is going up. And now when Russell Gage comes back, how is that going to affect that chemistry? Is Russell Gage going to be the guy that's kind of the odd man out because of the rapport with Scotty, with Cade? Cameron Brate is now back. Julio playing as well as he has over the course of the last couple of weeks. You don't want to mess with something that's working right now, but also Russell Gage is too talented of a player to just leave on the sideline. So it'll be interesting to see how they work him back into the offense. But I have to think that Brady's going to want to roll with what's continuing to work. And that means more targets for Scotty, Julio, Cade, Cameron, and maybe Russell's only getting 2-3 looks a game when he returns.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a disappointment. I was actually a little bit disappointed on top of it that the Bucs, at least from what we know, right, and there's a lot that we don't know. So, but I thought that the Bucs might make a run at Elijah Moore, the Jets wide receiver, who was a little bit disgruntled. Again, his drafts comparison was literally Antonio Brown. And how fun would it be to get a receiver from the Jets that's comparable to Antonio Brown and actually plays for the Buccaneers? That would be interesting. But look, I mean, if the Bucs are looking to get a little bit more agile, a little bit more speed on the field, don't sleep on Brandon Cooks, who's probably going to get released by the Houston Texans here at some point in time. So
all of this goes out the window when Odell signs with him.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. My stock down is going to be Logan Hall, the rookie defensive lineman. And look, this has nothing to do with Logan Hall. It has everything to do with Akeem Hicks. And right now, I don't know what the snap count was for each player. Those splits aren't out right now. But I do know that Logan Hall didn't register a single stat in Germany, and Akeem Hicks 4 tackles and a quarterback hit. And obviously a very big reason why Kenneth Walker the third. Yeah, Kenneth Walker the third, not as big of an impact player as we thought he might be entering the game. Akeem Hicks, last week, James, you said it, that Akeem Hicks came back, showed why he was brought in the first place and what he can contribute to. That only continued this week. Now he's at a bye, so whatever banged upness he's accrued being back these last couple of weeks, he's going to get to heal a little bit from to come back for the home stretch. 7 more games when they come back from the bye week. And so Akeem Hicks obviously firmly in that position, which again, I mean, the Bucs probably didn't really plan on relying on Logan Hall that much. So how much does it really hurt him? I don't know. But the bottom line is, the old adage is, you get better by getting reps. Logan Hall's rep share is going to go down the better Akeem Hicks plays.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But it's real nice to have Hicks back in there. And it can be a slow burn, a slow develop for Logan Hall, like we saw with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. They're not being forced to rely on him as much. He can develop, and we've seen the gigantic leap that Tryon-Shoyinka has taken in year 2. Hopefully we see the same thing with Logan Hall. You guys know I was talking about Cade Otton all week long leading up to this game because the Seattle Seahawks were so bad against the tight end. Did not fare for me so well with our friends over at Prize Picks. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, Cade Otton less against the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe some of that had to do with Cameron Brate. Maybe some of it had to do with other targets and Leonard Fournette throwing interceptions. But you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people. It's just you against the projections available. They have safe and fast withdrawals and currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. So don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100 with our friends at PrizePicks. Wrapping things up here on a Victory Monday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. And I do want to queue up one more voicemail because among all the congratulations that we have to send out to the Buccaneers for winning in Germany, beating the Seahawks, winning their second game in a row, we have another congratulations coming up for our next caller.
Fire the cannons. What's up, guys? This is Troy from Morgan, Georgia. I will never forget this day because the Buccaneers won their first game in Germany by 5 points. And I shot my first putt today, and it had 5 points. I guess it was meant to be. Fire the cannons. Go Bucs!
All right, Troy from Morgan, Georgia. Congratulations on your first 5-point buck. And David, if there's something else that I know about Troy, it's that he loves some deep fried dirty bird. So let's take a look around the NFC South. The Buccaneers are now 5-5, first place. And despite what David said in our postcast episode, the Saints did in fact play a game on Sunday. And
well, they were at a game, but it looked like they were on their bye week anyway.
Oh man, Andy Dalton is the worst. So yeah, we let's take a look around the NFC South, see what happened. And David, I will kick it over to you the way Andy Dalton likes to kick himself in the butt anytime he plays the Steelers, because
how bad is Jameis Winston if the Saints are going with Andy Dalton? That's all I gotta say. And I don't honestly imagine he can be that bad, but it is what it is. The Falcons lost to the Carolina Panthers, obviously start off week 10. Which is good for the Buccaneers because that is a team that unfortunately they were neck and neck with for first place in the division. The Saints losing to Pittsburgh. So yeah, the NFC South, the Buccaneers sole possession of first place again, not below 500 at 500. Bucks 5-5. Falcons second place at 4-6. The Carolina Panthers are 3-7 in third place, and the New Orleans Saints by virtue of a tiebreaker last place at 3-7. So yeah, the Buccaneers saved by their division foes right now. But looking ahead to week 11, obviously the Buccaneers are on a bye, and that is actually accurate. The Falcons host the Bears, which Justin Fields has been torching people right now, and the Falcons defense, they're susceptible to being torched. The Panthers are in Baltimore. If you're not picking Baltimore, I don't know what you're doing. Saints are at home against the Rams, and the Rams haven't looked very good either. But again, unless Jameis Winston is coming out, even if Jameis Winston comes out, Jalen Ramsey would probably love to face either of those quarterbacks. So not looking good for the NFC South next week by the schedule. And by the time we see the Bucs take the field again, they could be 2 games up on their second place team in the division.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs could legitimately gain ground by doing nothing. And you take a look at the Saints and Rams game, and obviously we're just a week removed from the Buccaneers facing the Rams. And I do think you're right. If the Saints come to their senses and actually start Jameis Winston, they might have a chance in this one. Matthew Stafford, I would assume he is back from being in concussion protocol and will play. But and there may be an update after this is already posted, but Cooper Kupp had to be helped to the bench with an ankle injury late in the game against the Cardinals. So the Saints could have an opportunity to face a cupless Los Angeles Rams team. If you put Jameis in there, we all know Jameis can lose you some football games, but he can go out there and he can win you some too. Right now, Andy Dalton's just losing them because he is the worst. Yeah. He is terrible. He looks like Scud Farkas from A Christmas Story. The guy that wore the coonskin hat and was the bully that Ralphie ended up beating up. That's Andy Dalton right now with Ralphie beating the tar out of him. Summon your inner Ralphie, Jameis, and take that job back. My fantasy team.
That is quite the comparison. Yeah. I mean, look, the Buccaneers, I think, with all their struggles, I still think it's pretty safe to say the Bucs are going to be in the playoffs, for whatever reason it is. And look, we looked ahead a little bit. We're not going to go game by game here, but the Buccaneers, the way they're playing right now, and I mean the last 2 weeks, the way the Buccaneers have come out the last 2 weeks, you can see the squad winning 5 of their last 7 games, finishing the season 10-7, or better possibly. And I think 10-7 in the NFC South wins the division. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so you're talking about the playoffs. And look, come mid to late January, early February, if the Buccaneers can run the table, then we'll be talking about Tom Brady being the winningest quarterback in NFC playoff history, because in order to take that title from Brett Favre, the Bucs do have to play and win Wild Card Weekend. So winning Wild Card Weekend divisional NFC Championship game going to the Super Bowl would give Tom Brady one more playoff win in the NFC than Brett Favre currently has. And who doesn't want to see Tom Brady take another NFC record in his 3rd year in the conference?
Well, I mean, he did set another record. He's won a NFL game in 5 countries now, because obviously he's won in America.
That's nuts.
He's won a game in Canada, a game in Mexico, a game in London, England, and now a game in Germany. And look, you and I were talking before the show started. And Tom Brady was having a lot of fun on social media talking about how if he hadn't slipped, he was going to, moss. I can't remember who got the interception for the Seahawks. He was going to moss
Tariq Woolen.
Tariq Woolen. Thank you.
6 foot 30-inch tall Tariq Woolen was going to get mossed by Tom Brady.
45-year-old Tom Brady. And he's having a lot of fun with it. And David, I mentioned to you, this is the side of Tom Brady that we had all grown to know and love over the course of the last 2 years. But it's not a Tom Brady that we've seen so far this year. Even early in the year, they started off 2-0. He was still posting his videos, but he wasn't having the fun that we had seen him have. Seeing him do stuff like that, Leonard Fournette posted a photo of him throwing the ball and said QB2. Yeah. I think it's a really good sign. It started with the relief on his face, after the Rams win. I mentioned on our postcast, how jacked up and excited he and Mike Evans were after that Rachaad White run where he slid in bounds and they knew they had this one. Now we're starting to see it on social media. I think he's starting to get a little loose, and I think he's starting to have fun again. It could be a good sign for the Bucs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Look, all I'm going to say is QB deuce because that's what that throw was. That's
yikes.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
With that, David, we are going to get out of here. I will be back tomorrow. So if you have more reactions to this game, thoughts about the bye week, thoughts about the upcoming schedule, help me out. Give me a call at 813-444-5841. Leave me a voicemail with a topic, a question, anything at all that you want to hear about. Of course, we thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or view of the day. For your second listen, make sure you check out the biggest headlines in all of sports with Locked On Sports Today. You can find them on YouTube and wherever you are listening to this podcast. Check out David's work over at BucsGameDay.com. Check me out over at BucsNation.com and follow everything on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, and at DHarrison82. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire the cannons. And we thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.